Bridget Taylor is my co-host. It's going like lightning.
Yeah, it
hey?
is,
This
sure.
the review of the
Except
week.
we're getting moaned at by the producers because
I
we want to
know.
go on and on.
And they keep saying, you're running out of time.
I know, and it's so much fun.
I think we'll just carry on.
I agree.
Well, this is the wrap of what dominated the social space, and one of our regular guests on that is Shaka Sisulu. Evening to you, Shaka. It's one of those evenings where we talk about the different segments, the politics, the economy, the shares, and there's quite a lot of overlap tonight. So one of them is the British election, which we've talked about quite a lot, and we've talked about that DA Congress.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was the news that the SABC has said it is not taking a live feed on the DA Congress.
Yeah.
And Jackson Mthembu, spokesman for the ANC, says that's a stupid decision and it's got nothing to do with us, the ANC.
Yeah.
And there's the tweet up there. Let's have a look at it. The failure to cover the DA Congress. And then we've got another one. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's very interesting because, a lot of the responses coming out of that were people saying, "Yeah, but you guys are the ANC. You guys control the SABC." So I think to a lot of South Africans, the lines are pretty much blurred, and people basically saying to Jackson, "Well, then tell them to just switch it on."
Yes, there were a lot of comments like that.
A lot of comments like that. So you can see that generally there is a sentiment that the SABC as a national broadcaster, even though it's a national broadcaster, is increasingly perceived to be a single party broadcaster.
Yep.
And that's very negative. I mean, I was listening to a commentary earlier, and they were talking about the fact that, this is the public forum for live broadcasts. If the public is asking to see this live broadcast, surely it's in the interest of the public, who are the taxpayer, who pay for these types of entities, to be supported. And I think that's the kind of feedback.
I don't think there's a debate about it, particularly if they had already agreed that they were going to flight it. I think what is interesting is how a senior member of the ANC has actually gone to social media and put out a position in a way where you'd normally see the party waiting and then issuing a press statement. He's basically gone out there and said, "Guys, this is really stupid. We don't support this thing."
Well, that's the news, isn't it? I mean, they could have just kept quiet.
Yes.
So,
That's the interesting thing.
Must be grateful that such comments are being made. The city of Johannesburg, they had the state of the city this week.
Huge, massive trend, and I think a lot of people are excited about some of the the innovations that are coming out. I mean, some of the things I heard, they're crazy. You're going to use, the water, the energy of the water rushing through your pipes to actually create more power, right?
Fantastic, yeah.
Okay.
Well, yes, but are they going to fix the traffic lights that keep going out? I mean, a lot of it's grand, but will they implement? And I think there's an irony. They were talking about the electricity schemes and so on at the same time that citizens in Orlando, I think,
There was the
about
Orlando protest.
Was that on? That was that big.
That also went quite big. I think it topped out at number 3, the third biggest trend at the time, a day ago. And there, people saying, power is too expensive. We need cheaper power. We need free power. Interestingly enough, one of the tweets in response was, "Hey, you want free power, but you pay your DSTV. You pay for that SuperSport."
You know what it reminds
Or
me
you
of?
pay your cell phone license.
School fees.
Yeah.
There are people who refuse to pay school fees and claim poverty. Happens a lot with the old Model C schools in particular, but they've got the DSTV.
They've got the DSTV.
That they buy
They've got the
before
dish.
bread and milk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't toy outside Randburg, I guess.
And there's the one that
There's
you were
the
talking about on the screen now. But what interests me also is that Brian Molefe, he was in here with us a couple of weeks ago when he was appointed, very confident. Now we hear Eskom saying Soweto must pay.
Yeah.
I think the social media is telling us that Soweto is not going to pay. And does Eskom dare switch off Soweto?
Well, the mayor was asked that question on social media today, and I got a chance to actually ask him that. And he said, look, they are working on initiatives in terms of managing the debt, because the debt is a big issue. Eventually, everybody has to pay for services that we're using. So how do you then strike a balance between getting people to get into a particular culture, clawing back any debts that have been incurred, and not cutting people off?
Now, Mayweather against Pacquiao. We talked.
Speaking about cutting people off, yeah, I mean, you know, the Mayweather fight, you know, everybody who watched it said something, you know, weird about how another fight around it was probably more exciting. So everything else that happened on the night was more exciting than the actual fight. And one of the things in our Twitter sphere that was more exciting is Adrian Basson versus the Minister of Sports and Recreation, Fikile Mbalula.
Now tell us what's happened with that.
Well, what actually happened was the minister basically said on Twitter, hey, I'm here in Vegas, I'm about to watch the fight, really excited.
Big selfie.
You know, yeah, you know, and we're all like, wow.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Oh, yeah, gonna go watch the fight. And then the editor of the Bild, Adrian Basson, basically insinuates in a tweet that government or someone has paid for this particular trip, and then a back and forth started. The minister basically saying, hey, listen, a black guy can pay his own way, can get to Vegas. That got a lot of retweets, a lot of black people jumping on saying, yeah, tell her. And then it just went on for the next couple of days. It's been going on.
Yeah.
Now, I guess the newspaper, in retribution, has started saying, look, let's look at how you funded Mayweather.
And there it is. He says, I wonder who paid. I hope it's not the public purse.
Yeah.
So I don't blame the black guys for saying, yeah, the black guy can go on his own money. But did he go on his own money? I suppose that's the question.
Well, I mean, you know, and rightly so, everyone has a right to ask public officials, you know, what they're doing, because they are public officials. I suppose the big issue here was the insinuation that, you know, whether he has any facts or not, he's basically insinuating that something untoward is happening. And that really is what a lot of people took a lot of umbrage with.
Did you watch the fight? I asked you if you stayed up for the election. Did you stay up for the fight?
I didn't stay for the fight, but I knew the results. My fiance was up watching it, so no, I was comfortably in bed. But I mean, that it was just it was a.
You didn't miss much.
I didn't miss much, exactly. I think the fight
was a gentleman's fight.
Yeah, but I think going back to our point, talking about the you know, this fight, is that it's interesting because I think that there's that public perception that there's corruption in the public sector. So in terms of how people manage their money, is it really the purse of the public or is it the purse of the individual? And those are the questions that the social media is asking, and rightly so, because that's something, that's the core, I think, of what the statements were that would be made.
Well, I don't know if it was the public. It was actually a member of it was a news editor. So you do.
And an editor. He's the editor.
Yeah, he is the editor of a publication. But you have increasingly getting a sense of some sort of a civil war or cold war between politicians and the media in general, and across the board, all parties. People seem to feel that, well, the media isn't necessarily. Is not necessary. It's going out of the way to paint people in a negative light.
No, but I have to say, this is not something that's just to South Africa. In fact, if anything, I think that we're pretty lenient on our politicians based on the fact that they certainly give our media a lot of ammunition. Yeah. So, you know, I think that it's just unfortunate. He gave them ammunition, they took the ammunition and they used it. Whether the question remains is whether or not it was from the public coffers or not.
I remember Helen Suzman saying to the old National Party government, they said, why do you go and say all these horrible things about us? She said, I refuse to be a fig leaf for you.
Yeah.
And look what the fig leaf would be hiding. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely true. Definitely true. I wonder where this is going to end up. But, you know, interestingly enough, the sentiment generally is actually, in this case, in the media, in the minister's favor. Lots of people feeling it's a bit offside in terms of...
Also, he's the Minister of Sport. Maybe he should go to these things.
Well, I don't know if the Minister of Sport has to go to every major sporting event. Yeah. There are a lot of pressing issues that he could be able to deal with.
Like the lack of facilities.
But I don't believe that I don't believe he would have gone there as in his official capacity. So, of course, there will be questions raised.
Well, hopefully it does, because I think that then what it says is that there are those individuals that go to Vegas and watch these kinds of matches, fantastic, and that not everybody's corrupt. So if that's the outcome, that's fantastic, but ask the questions, and that's what social media is about.
Shaka, it's been great having you in again.
It's been good, as always.
And you don't have to restrict yourself to 140 characters when you come here. I know you're used to it.
I speak in tweets.
Yes.
Hashtags.
Tweet.
And it's been great having Bridget on the show as the co-host. There's two things you didn't stay up for, the British election and the fight, so we have to find out what will keep you up.
I'm a girl.
Okay. So, thanks to Shaka Sisulu, social media sensei, and Bridget Taylor for joining us.